what was amazing about that show and the writing and executive branch on that show was they really paid attention to what was going on set. And, they sort of promoted from within, as it were.
Yeah.
Before the dark reboot, before modern sci-fi dramas, and before space TV got serious, Battlestar Galactica already had secrets hiding behind its shiny ships and chrome villains. The 1978 series looked like a bold space adventure, but behind the scenes, it was full of strange choices, rushed production, tragic toy history, and ideas most viewers never noticed. We will uncover 20 weird facts about the original Battlestar Galactica, from hidden religious themes and Star Wars drama to a robot dog played by a chimpanzee. Some facts are funny, some are shocking, and some completely change how the show is remembered. Number 20. Hidden Mormon Ideas. When Battlestar Galactica first aired in 1978, most viewers thought they were simply watching another giant space adventure inspired by the growing science fiction craze. They saw laser battles, robotic Cylons, and humans searching the galaxy for Earth. But underneath the flashy action and dramatic music, creator Glenn A. Larson quietly placed ideas connected to his own religious background. Larson was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and several story elements strongly reflected LDS beliefs and themes. One of the biggest examples was the idea of the lost 13th tribe of humanity. In the series, the 12 colonies believe a missing tribe traveled far away long ago and eventually settled on Earth. Some viewers later connected this to Mormon teachings about lost tribes and sacred journeys. Even the planet Kobol sounded strangely similar to Kolob, a sacred star or heavenly place mentioned in LDS scripture. The similarities were difficult for longtime followers of the faith to ignore once they noticed them. The Council of 12 also mirrored leadership structures found within the LDS Church. Prophecy, destiny, and divine guidance appeared constantly throughout the series. Yet many viewers never realized these connections at all. And while the story felt huge, the show itself was never supposed to become a weekly race against time. Number 19. Not weekly at first. The show Battlestar Galactica existed as a different type of show before its creators developed it into a fast-paced weekly series. Glenn A. Larson created the show as a series of 3-hour television movies which would air throughout the year. The production team aimed to create stories which would appear as massive, cinematic experiences that required expensive resources to produce. The American audience first saw the pilot episode of the show Saga of a Star World after the episode had its theatrical release in several countries. The early production phase showed Larson's dedication to creating high-quality work, which he wanted to complete at a slower pace. The pilot gained United States television broadcast because it started to create an immediate impact. Viewers started to watch the show in large numbers, which led ABC to recognize their newly found success. The network requested a complete weekly series because they wanted to broadcast more shows than just the scheduled television movies. The decision created tremendous pressure for the production team because they needed to produce continuous episodes while maintaining the costly science fiction elements which audiences wanted to see. Number 18. History interrupted the pilot. Viewers anticipated a major television production from Battlestar Galactica, which launched in 1978 and showcased battles between explosions and Cylon robots and human space travel. The pilot episode, Saga of a Star World, received massive marketing because it represented one of the largest science fiction productions which television networks had ever attempted. Families gathered around their televisions, ready for a massive space adventure unlike anything network TV had shown before. Everything followed the original plan during that time period. The broadcast received an unexpected disruption when actual historical events entered the program and transformed the viewing experience for millions of home viewers. A BC interrupted the pilot at its midpoint because they needed to show breaking news about the Camp David peace accords, which had been signed between Egypt and Israel. The viewers saw President Jimmy Carter discussing an important international political agreement instead of Viper fighters and laser battles. The interruption confused many fans because some initially believed there was a technical issue with the station. The audience became frustrated because all the excitement which built up before the show started disappeared after the story reached its midpoint. Number 17. Star Wars Legal Trouble. Not long after Battlestar Galactica exploded onto television screens, another giant science fiction franchise started paying very close attention. Star Wars had become a worldwide phenomenon in 1977, and many people immediately noticed similarities between the movie and the new television series. Both stories used huge space battles and shiny robots and evil empires and heroic pilots and advanced weaponry. The similarities were strong enough that Lucasfilm eventually decided to take legal action against Universal Studios, claiming Battlestar Galactica copied important ideas from Star Wars too closely. The lawsuit focused on several specific details. Lucasfilm argued that certain robot designs looked familiar, especially the Cylons with their glowing scanner eyes. The team demonstrated their case through visual effects similarities and opening narration and battle scenes and complete story structure. Some effects artists and technical crews had worked on both productions, which created similar visual results. Battlestar Galactica used the same motion control camera technology that Star Wars used to create its space battles, which resulted in multiple visual similarities between the two universes. The legal fight lasted for an extended period before it ended without any significant courtroom success. Battlestar Galactica faced ongoing disputes throughout its entire existence. Some viewers considered it to be a television duplicate of Star Wars, while defenders argued it represented an original science fiction universe. Number 16. The Deadly Toy Recall. One of the darkest stories connected to Battlestar Galactica had nothing to do with Cylons, explosions, or space battles. Instead, it came from the toy aisle. In 1978, Mattel released a line of Battlestar Galactica toys to capitalize on the show's growing popularity. Among the most popular items was the Colonial Viper toy, a futuristic spaceship that could fire small plastic missiles. Kids loved the feature because it made the toy feel more realistic and exciting during imaginary battles against the Cylons at home. Sadly, the toy soon became linked to a terrible real-life tragedy. One child accidentally swallowed one of the spring-loaded missiles, leading to a fatal choking incident. Another child suffered a serious injury in a separate accident involving the same type of projectile. The news shocked parents across the country and quickly turned the toy into a national controversy. What had started as exciting merchandise for a science fiction show suddenly became a major safety issue that toy companies could no longer ignore. Number 15. Weird Time Words. Battlestar Galactica did not just create strange planets and robotic enemies. It also created its own confusing way of telling time. Instead of using familiar words like years, minutes, or seconds, the series replaced them with terms such as Yaren, Centon, Micron, and Centaur. Characters spoke these words constantly during missions, battles, and conversations. A Yaren roughly meant a year, while a Micron worked more like a second. For longtime fans, the unusual language became part of the show's charm. For new viewers, though, it sometimes sounded like complete nonsense during important scenes. The strange vocabulary was not accidental. Creator Glenn A. Larson wanted the universe to feel completely separate from modern Earth. By changing everyday language, even something as basic as time, suddenly felt foreign and distant. It helped reinforce the idea that the surviving humans came from another civilization entirely, one with its own history, culture, and traditions. Small details like these gave the series a deeper science fiction atmosphere compared to many other television shows of the late 1970s. Number 14. Patrick Macnee's double role. The show Battlestar Galactica already presented its audience with its unknown villains and its uncommon predictions and its frightening mechanical adversaries. The hidden detail about the show, which stayed unknown to viewers, made the series even more unusual through its secret backstage operations. Patrick Macnee performed two distinct roles on the show, which he kept hidden from viewers. Most viewers recognized him as Count Iblis, the mysterious figure who appeared dressed in white and manipulated people with charm, fear, and temptation. The character displayed an otherworldly presence through his calm voice, which produced eerie effects when he interacted with Galactica crew members. The voice of the imperious leader, which Macnee voiced, remained unknown to many fans because he hid his identity as the Cylon's secret ruler. The character usually stayed out of sight and spoke through an echoing mechanical voice from his dark chamber, which he used to issue orders. Audiences needed to see both characters because their appearance and voice characteristics made it impossible to make a connection between them. The same actor behind both roles in the series remained unknown to fans until they discovered the truth. Number 13. Cue Card Chaos. Making Battlestar Galactica every single week became far more difficult than the producers originally expected. The series demanded giant sets, costumes, visual effects, spaceship battles, and complicated science fiction dialogue, all on an extremely tight television schedule. Writers constantly struggled to finish scripts fast enough for filming. In some cases, scenes were still being rewritten while cameras were already rolling on the set. The pressure behind the scenes became so intense that actors sometimes barely had time to memorize their lines before filming important moments. To survive the chaos, production crews started hiding cue cards around the set so actors could quickly read dialogue during scenes. Cards were taped behind control panels, hidden near cameras, and even placed beside props, where audiences would never notice them. Some actors had to glance around the room while speaking just to keep up with constantly changing scripts. Once fans learned about this later, they began spotting awkward pauses and unusual eye movements during certain episodes throughout the series. The rushed production schedule also affected performances in subtle ways. Some emotional scenes felt stiff because actors were focusing more on remembering fresh dialogue than fully reacting naturally to the moment. Number 12. Baltar was meant to die. The character of Count Baltar was not supposed to exist beyond the initial part of Battlestar Galactica. The Cylon forces in the theatrical release of Saga of a Star World execute punishment against Baltar because he assists in the destruction of human colonies. The robotic empire executes him without mercy after he becomes useless to them. The 1970s science fiction television show created a scene which showed unexpected darkness because it targeted both adult viewers and young viewers during the family entertainment programming block. ABC network executives made the decision to turn Battlestar Galactica into an ongoing weekly series, which brought about a complete transformation of the show. Producers discovered that their narrative needed a regular antagonist who would fight the heroes, but they only had mute mechanical foes who wore silver armor. Baltar already showed 3 traits that made him suitable for extended battles, which included betrayal, greed, and self-centered preservation. The television adaptation changed his story because the Cylons decided not to slay him, but instead kept him alive as their captive. The production team made one decision which resulted in a complete transformation of future story development throughout the entire series. The show developed personal conflicts through Baltar's continued existence in the series. The Cylons presented a lethal threat, yet Baltar's behavior remained unpredictable because he maintained his human nature. He used lying as a power tool to control others, while at times he would lose control during urgent situations, and he would actively seek any possible ways to protect himself. Number 11. Cylons were once aliens. Today, most people remember the Cylons as cold metallic robots with glowing red scanner eyes and emotionless voices. They became one of the most recognizable science fiction enemies of the late 1970s. But during the earliest stages of Battlestar Galactica development, the Cylons were not supposed to be robots at all. The original concept imagined them as a living alien race hiding inside armored suits. Instead of mechanical beings, they were meant to be biological creatures fighting humanity across the galaxy in brutal futuristic wars. Evidence of this older idea actually survived in some early footage connected to the pilot episode. Sharp-eyed fans noticed a quick glimpse underneath a Cylon helmet that appeared to reveal a strange reptilian-looking face. The moment lasted only briefly, but it hinted at the original alien design before the series fully changed direction. Once the television version entered production, the creators decided to remove most traces of the living creatures hidden beneath the armor completely from the storyline afterward. One major reason for the change involved concerns about violence on television. Executives worried that viewers, especially children, would react negatively to seeing living aliens constantly blasted apart during action scenes every week. Turning the Cylons into machines solved that problem instantly. Once the enemies became machines, the heroes still needed something surprisingly old school on the ground. Number 10. Real military vehicles. The science fiction series Battlestar Galactica explored numerous galaxies through its advanced spaceships and its robotic adversaries, yet the show used common ground vehicles from everyday life. Viewers watched colonial forces operate Landrum and Snowram vehicles, which they used to traverse rocky deserts and icy landscapes during their planetary missions. The vehicles appeared to be futuristic on television because they displayed advanced technology with their laser rifles and space uniforms. The extra panels and science fiction decorations make the machines appear enhanced, but the actual design uses authentic military and industrial equipment, which has been altered for TV shows. The reason was simple: money. The producers of Battlestar Galactica allocated substantial funds toward visual effects and costume design and miniature work and construction of expansive sets throughout the production. The show required original vehicle design because existing vehicles would not meet the needs of every episode, which would increase production costs. Production teams transformed existing vehicles into new designs by applying armor and different paint schemes and creating fake futuristic elements, which made the vehicles appear authentic enough for the show. The practical method enabled the ambitious science fiction show to maintain its production schedule for weekly television broadcasts. The approach created Battlestar Galactica with a visual style that differs from other contemporary science fiction programs which aired during that time period. The vehicles appeared to possess a military design because they carried high weight and presented an unrefined appearance, which rather than exhibiting sophisticated beauty. Number 9. Unseen Battlestars. The Battlestar Galactica was not supposed to be the only giant warship defending humanity. Throughout the series, characters occasionally mentioned other Battlestars with names like Columbia, Pacifica, Rikon, Triton, and several others scattered across the colonial fleet. Hearing these names made the universe sound enormous, as if entire military fleets existed beyond the camera's view. Viewers imagined massive ships fighting desperate battles somewhere else in space, while the Galactica struggled to protect the surviving civilians searching for Earth across dangerous territory. The strange part was that most of these battle stars never actually appeared on screen. Audiences heard about them during conversations, military briefings, or reports about the Cylon attack. But the ships themselves remained invisible throughout the series. The reason mainly came down to production limitations. Creating large spaceship models cost enormous amounts of money, and filming complicated effects scenes required significant time. Battlestar Galactica already pushed television budgets to dangerous levels, so building additional Battlestar models simply became too expensive for weekly production schedules. Oddly enough, the missing ships helped make the universe feel larger and more realistic. Instead of seeing every single corner of the colonial fleet, viewers sensed there was an entire history existing outside the main story. Number 8. The handheld game. The original Battlestar Galactica production in 1978 extended beyond its broadcast on television. A small electronic handheld game from Mattel allowed fans to experience the space war through their mobile devices. People in the past considered LED games to be highly advanced because their technology surpassed all existing video games and graphics systems at that time. The Battlestar Galactica version placed players inside a Colonial Viper fighter, battling incoming Cylon raiders using blinking red lights on a tiny black display. The device looked like a simple design which could be created today, but people at that time regarded it as a portable science fiction device. The gameplay itself was basic, yet strangely addictive. Players controlled their Viper movements across the screen while attacking enemy ships, which appeared as glowing dots. The system produced loud electronic beeps and flashing lights to present hit successes, which created an intense experience despite its basic technology. Kids who watched the television series found a new way to battle through their experience of the game. The game reached peak popularity during the late 1970s science fiction craze, because every space adventure product became an instant success at toy stores across the country. The handheld game, which remains today, has become a valuable collector item for both retro gaming enthusiasts and Battlestar Galactica fans. Number 7. Cylon Chain of Command. Most viewers remember the Cylons as chrome-plated robots marching through corridors with glowing red scanner eyes and metallic voices. At first glance, they looked like simple robotic soldiers built only for destruction. But Battlestar Galactica actually gave the Cylons a surprisingly detailed hierarchy that made them feel more like a real empire than a collection of machines. The series divided them into multiple ranks and specialized types, each serving a different role within the growing Cylon military structure throughout the galaxy's ongoing war. At the bottom were the standard Centurions, the heavily armored foot soldiers usually seen carrying weapons and attacking colonial forces. Above them stood Command Centurions, recognizable by different armor details and leadership responsibilities during missions. Then came the IL series Cylons, including the famous character Lucifer. Unlike the emotionless soldiers, Lucifer spoke calmly, analyzed situations strategically, and often displayed sarcasm or arrogance during conversations. He acted more like a calculating political advisor than a machine programmed only for combat. Watching him interact with human characters made the Cylons seem far more intelligent and organized than viewers initially expected. At the very top sat the mysterious Imperious leader, whose booming voice controlled the larger direction of the Cylon Empire. This layered system gave the villains structure, authority, and even personality. Instead of faceless robots endlessly marching forward, the Cylons became a functioning civilization with leadership, strategy, and internal order. Number 6. A franchise was born. The original Battlestar Galactica series has a single season that includes all its television content. The series finished after 24 episodes because it received high production costs and created strong fan interest, but failed to attract enough viewers. ABC stopped funding the science fiction project because its costs increased, while its audience numbers decreased. The viewers lost interest because the story did not reach its conclusion, while the remaining humans searched for Earth throughout the galaxy, which extended beyond Cylon detection range. Battlestar Galactica maintained a presence even after its cancellation. Universal worked quickly to sustain the franchise with Galactica 1980, which served as a lower-budget sequel that made the fleet reach modern Earth. The sequel series showed that fans had mixed opinions, but the universe Larson created continued to attract strong interest. Battlestar Galactica expanded its reach beyond television by creating comic books and novels, and model kits and board games, and toys and various merchandise products, which spread throughout subsequent decades. The franchise developed a faithful cult, following which maintained its presence in popular culture. Battlestar Galactica returned to television in 2000 after the original series Battlestar Galactica returned as a complete new show. The reboot changed the 1978 colorful adventure into a serious dark drama, which used elements of political conflict and survival themes and psychological tension. Number 5. Muffet was a chimp. Among all the spaceships, laser battles, and robotic Cylons in Battlestar Galactica, one of the strangest characters was also one of the cutest. Muffet 2, the robotic Daggett, quickly became a favorite with younger viewers watching the show during its original run. The small mechanical pet followed Boxy around the Galactica and acted almost like a futuristic replacement for a family dog. With its flashing eyes, wagging tail, and playful behavior, Muffet brought warmth to a series often filled with destruction, danger, and desperate survival across the galaxy. What most audiences never realized was that Muffet was not controlled by complicated robotics or advanced puppetry. Instead, the character was actually performed by a chimpanzee named Evie, wearing a robotic dog costume during filming. Underneath the metal-looking outfit was a trained animal trying to move naturally while cameras rolled around the busy sets. Once fans learned the truth years later, the entire character suddenly became much stranger than it first appeared on television screens. The costume itself looked bulky and awkward behind the scenes, especially during filming under hot studio lights. Crew members had to work carefully with Evie, while making the robotic movements appear believable enough for audiences. Number 4. A huge pilot budget. The public realized Battlestar Galactica appeared larger than most television shows from its time when Saga of a Star World first aired in 1978. The pilot episode showcased massive spaceships and authentic-looking costumes and advanced futuristic weaponry and complex sets and visual effects, which provided a movie-like experience for network television. The show achieved its remarkable visual appearance through an expensive financial investment. The pilot stood as one of television history's most costly productions at that time. The network invested millions into the show because ABC wanted Battlestar Galactica to become their main science fiction show, which would compete against the Star Wars phenomenon. The huge production budget allowed the show to achieve special effects, which most 1970s television shows could not deliver. Miniature spaceship models received detailed filming through motion control camera technology, while the Galactica space vehicle obtained authentic military appearance through its large display pieces. The expensive effects made the pilot feel more like a movie than a normal weekly television program. The audience reacted positively to the show because it presented ambitious scientific fiction content that appeared more polished and impressive than other shows which competed with it during that time. The budget which created impressive pilot results created permanent financial issues for the project, therefore proved to be disadvantageous. The studio found it extremely challenging and costly to develop high-quality cinematic effects, which needed to be produced for every episode. Number 3. Reused space battles. Battlestar Galactica looked massive on television, especially for a weekly series produced during the late 1970s. The space battles featured colonial vipers racing through explosions, while Cylon raiders attacked in huge formations across deep space. Audiences loved the action because it felt exciting, fast, and cinematic compared to most television science fiction at the time. But behind the scenes, those effects sequences were incredibly expensive and painfully slow to create. Every explosion, laser blast, and spaceship maneuver required careful miniature work, detailed lighting, and complex camera movements that demanded huge amounts of time. Because of those production challenges, the series relied heavily on reused battle footage throughout many episodes. The same Vipers often launched from the Galactica repeatedly. Identical Raider explosions appeared again and again, and certain laser attack shots became extremely familiar to attentive viewers. Sometimes the reused footage happened so often that longtime fans could predict exactly which explosion or flight pattern would appear next during combat scenes. It became one of the most recognizable production habits connected to the original series over time. Oddly enough, the repetition did not completely ruin the excitement for most audiences. Instead, the recycled effects slowly became part of Battlestar Galactica's identity and charm. Number 2. Fan backlash led to Galactica, 1980. The show developed a dedicated fan base which followed the crew's intense quest across space to find Earth. Viewers expected the show to provide answers and present larger conflict between characters while developing the narrative. The show vanished from existence after showing great potential through its extensive science fiction universe. Battlestar Galactica faced cancellation during a time when science fiction fans had seen other costly science fiction shows fail to succeed on television, which made the experience painful for dedicated viewers. The network and Universal Studios had to face the backlash because it reached a point where they could not ignore it anymore. Fans expressed their dissatisfaction through letter writing and public complaints, while they continued to support the franchise by purchasing merchandise and watching reruns and participating in fan communities. The audience response demonstrated that Battlestar Galactica remained an important science fiction franchise despite the high production costs of the original series. Executives discovered that people still wanted to hear the story because space-themed entertainment had become popular during the late 1970s and early 1980s period. The pressure drove development of Galactica 1980, which served as a budget-friendly sequel series that tried to show the fleet's journey after they reached Earth orbit. The new show altered its original tone through significant changes, which led to divided opinions between fans and critics. And the final weird fact is the one that connected this faraway space journey to real history. Number 1. Earth was already modern. Battlestar Galactica spent its entire story building toward one central mystery: the search for Earth. The surviving humans believed a lost 13th colony existed somewhere far away, and they hoped that planet could become humanity's final refuge from the Cylons. Throughout the series, Earth felt distant, almost mythical, like a forgotten world buried deep in ancient prophecy and legend. Then, during the final aired episode, The Hand of God, the show quietly delivered one of its strangest reveals through a small but unforgettable moment near the ending. During the episode, the Galactica crew intercepts a signal coming from Earth itself. At first, it seems like another mysterious transmission connected to their endless journey across space. But then, viewers hear something shockingly familiar. The signal contains audio from the real Apollo 11 moon landing in 1969, including the famous voices connected to humanity's first steps onto the lunar surface. Suddenly, Battlestar Galactica's version of Earth no longer felt ancient or completely alien. Instead, it appeared connected directly to recognizable modern human history from the real world. That brief reveal changed the tone of the series in a surprisingly dramatic way. Earth was not just a fantasy destination waiting somewhere in deep space. It already existed during humanity's modern technological era. So, there you have it. 20 weird facts about Battlestar Galactica from 1978. From hidden beliefs and Star Wars drama to dangerous toys, reused battles, and a robot dog played by a chimpanzee, this short-lived series had more strange history than many shows with 10 seasons. If you enjoyed this retro sci-fi deep dive, hit like, subscribe, and comment which fact surprised you the most. And watch the next video shown on the screen for more strange stories behind classic shows.